Hello, my brothers and sisters. In this video, I'm going to share with you a very practical but game-changing idea that you can use to get more clear, more confident, and to level up your game as a creative craftsperson. Welcome back to the channel, folks. My name is Tommy Z. This is The Anthem, and I want to begin with a story. I want to take you back to 2005. Here I am as a full-time employee working at TD Bank Financial Group. I've already had exposure to this business of making music for brands because my friend gave me a commercial. It was the first commercial I've ever made music for, and I realized that this is a business that exists, that a lot of musicians are making a living making money this way, and I was very, very excited to break into this industry. But I realized very quickly that desire is one thing. I knew that I had lots of desire, but believing that I belonged in the business was a completely different thing. And because I was an outsider, I realized that I had this internal complex, this internal lack of confidence, this inner hesitation and doubting that really showed itself in how I approached my mission of breaking into the business. I was hesitant. I was overthinking everything. I spent like 3 months building a website. I spent like days writing an email to one person. And I didn't even realize this was much of a problem until, as luck would have it, or maybe it's not luck, somebody once said, there are no coincidences, only signs. I came across this book, Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Not one of those doctors that got their degree in some online college, but a real medical doctor who was a plastic surgeon. And Dr. Maltz used to perform plastic surgeries on people. And he wondered, why do some people after plastic surgery turn into new human beings for the better? And some, after plastic surgery, even though their defect or something that they were self-conscious about, even though it was removed, they continued being the same doubtful and shy and timid and anxious human beings, just like they were before the plastic surgery. And he realized the issue had nothing to do with the plastic surgery and everything to do with what he called self-image. And I want to share with you a powerful quote that I took out of the book that very accurately describes the concept of self-image. And pay attention, because this is hugely important, folks. Human beings always act and feel and perform in accordance with what they imagine to be true about themselves and their environment. In other words, folks, you cannot perform beyond your self-image. No matter what you desire, no matter how big your dreams are, the result, the reality will always be only as good as the self-image that you have of yourself. And I don't know if any of you ever experienced this in your life. When you achieve a certain success and you're actually getting out of the comfort zone, you may be receiving awards, you may be exposed to new situations, new people, and suddenly you do something to draw yourself back. You do something to put yourself back into the place where you feel most comfortable. I know that's certainly been true in my life, but I didn't really realize this until I read this game-changing book. And by the way, I highly recommend that you put this in your backpack, you carry it with you everywhere. I've read this book a number of times and I still keep rereading it today. It's in my studio, it's with me everywhere I go, because I want to be reminded about these principles every single day and realize that it is my responsibility to shape my self-image. And if I don't do it, the world is going to do it for me. There's a very interesting passage in this book that I want to share with you right now. One of my patients was a salesperson who was scared to death when calling on big shots. I don't know if that sounds familiar to any of you musicians who are trying to reach out to music production companies or to collaborators who you feel are out of your league. Let me continue. His fear and nervousness were overcome in just one counseling session, during which I asked him, would you physically get down on all fours and crawl into the man's office, prostrating yourself before a superior personage? I should say not, he bristled. Then why do you mentally cringe and crawl? Another question, would you go into a man's office with your hand out like a beggar and beg for a dime or for a cup of coffee? Certainly not. Can't you see that you are doing essentially the same thing when you go in overly concerned with whether or not he will approve of you? Can't you see that you have your hand out, literally begging for his approval and acceptance of you as a person? Now, folks, I can identify with this 100% because when I was trying to break into the business, because I did not consciously work on my self-image, I didn't even realize that deep down, I did not truly believe. Deep down, I did not really see myself among the ranks of the professionals. And that showed in the way that I was meeting with people. That showed in the way I was delaying sending my emails, in the analysis paralysis and trying to make everything perfect instead of just launching it and going at it. So once I read the book, I realized the key is I have to be the author of my self-image. Otherwise, circumstances and the world will basically write my self-image for me, and it's probably not going to be very constructive, beneficial, or moving me closer to my calling. How do you start working on your self-image? So folks, I highly recommend that you get yourself a journal, what I call a Polish iPad, and you start spilling out the contents of your mind onto these pages so that you become aware of how you see yourself. And I want to give you a very powerful exercise from the book that will help you to get to know yourself and help you to start shaping your self-image consciously and constructively. So I want you to open your journal and I want you to start writing down the contents of your mind, what you believe about yourself. Just spill them out, stream of consciousness. And I want you to do this over a few days and weeks so that you see some thoughts and beliefs coming out on paper consistently. That's when you know that is programming that's embedded in your mind and that is running you, whether you're aware of it or not. Now, here comes the exercise. It's basically 4 questions that I want you to ask yourself about every one of these beliefs, all right? Question number 1, is there any rational reason for such a belief? Number 2, could it be that I am mistaken in this belief? Possible. Number 3, would I come to the same conclusion about some other person in a similar situation? And number 4, why should I continue to act and feel as if this were true if there is no good reason to believe it? So folks, the important thing about this exercise is that our self-image, if you have not been working on it consciously, constructively, intentionally, is probably shaped by your circumstances and by your fears and your emotions. Now, the thing about fears and emotions is they don't always make rational decisions for our life. They may feel true because they're so overwhelming and it's so much about feeling, right? You feel it, but that doesn't mean they are true. Emotions are not always good at getting at truth. In fact, I feel like emotions very often distract from getting to the truth. So what we want to do with this exercise is we want to involve our rational mind, the mind that will be calm and capable of discerning what is a fear, what is a fiction, and what is reality, and what is true. And folks, notice how this has nothing to do with fantasies, with dreaming, with imagination. It's about just settling down, taking a deep breath, and saying, is this even true that I don't belong in this business? What basis for this thought exists? And if there is no basis, why don't I just stop acting like it? But realize, folks, this is not an overnight, this is not a quick kind of an exercise. Like I said, I want you to develop a habit of spending time with yourself on these journal pages and then asking these 4 questions to really challenge the assumptions and the false beliefs that you may have that are shaping your self-image and therefore sabotaging any progress beyond a certain point. Yogi Berra once said that 99% of this game is half mental, and this quote is as hilarious as it is true. You look at the greatest inventors in history, and they all said that they first begin their work in the mind. Edison, Einstein, Tesla, they did not rush out there in the world and start doing. They spent a lot of time in the theater of the mind. Understand that it's not by doing more and hustling more that you're going to achieve the things you want to achieve. Of course, that is a necessary part of it, but the starting point is really working on a self-image, believing that you can actually get there, seeing yourself among the people that you want to be working with. And then you will notice your behavior changing. You will notice yourself walking differently, talking differently, reaching out to people differently. There will be an inner confidence, an inner conviction that other people are going to sense. And it is that's going to be responsible for a lot of your success. That is the starting point on the journey of becoming a successful craftsperson. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, comment, ask questions. I'm Tommy Z, and I'll see you in the next one.